The Reign of Terror was a period of time during the mid-level of the French Revolution. It lasted from the early months of 1793 until July 1794. And what characterized it was extraordinary violence. During the Reign of Terror, a committee was set up to try to run the government more efficiently. In late 1792, France went to war, one after the other, against most of its neighbors. Austria, later on kingdoms in northern Italy, the Netherlands, Great Britain, among others. And the wartime atmosphere created such a level of paranoia that people began to take violent actions on their own. As a result, those in government decided to take firmer control and to try to root out and identify all the enemies of the revolution that they could. Early on, a committee was set up with 9 members, but it was later abridged and made into a committee with 12 members. Theoretically, each one of these members had an equal level of power and authority. But one man rose to be the most influential, certainly, and that was Maximilian Robespierre. Under the wartime pressures, the feeling was that there simply wouldn't be time for committees, discussions, factional arguments. They needed an executive that could act immediately, and so this committee would serve as an executive. Robespierre, however, was deeply inspired by the philosophy of Rousseau, and especially Rousseau's ideas about the general will. The idea that an entire nation somehow had a collective set of desires and assumptions. And so Robespierre came increasingly to believe himself to be a personal embodiment of this general will. That had terrible implications, because it meant that if anyone disagreed with Robespierre or disagreed with the committee, that they were disagreeing with the collective will of the country, with the people of France itself. And so what followed under Robespierre's leadership was a period where anyone that disagreed with the Committee of Public Safety tended to be denounced, given a speedy show trial, and most often were sentenced to execution by the guillotine.
In June of 1794, a guillotine was set up in the square of the overturned throne, today known as Place de la Nation. Over the course of 5 weeks, 1,306 people were beheaded, an average of 55 executions a day. The bodies were buried in a mass grave at the edge of a nearby convent. After the fall of Robespierre and the Committee of Public Safety, several families of those buried in the mass grave bought the land and built an adjacent cemetery. Madame de Lafayette, wife of American Revolutionary War hero the Marquis de Lafayette, was part of the committee that worked to establish Picpus Cemetery. Her mother and sister were both beheaded and brought to the pit for burial. The tombs of Madame de Lafayette and her husband are located near the common grave. To this day, only descendants of the victims can be buried here. Today, Picpus Cemetery is one of only 2 private cemeteries left in the city. Gravel covers the site of the common graves. In the chapel, 2 enormous plaques bear the names of the innocent men, women, and children executed during the Reign of Terror.